Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special show review here as part of the five-star Joshi show. We are talking the Stardom Korakuen in September 2025. Of course, main evented by the double championship match. Saya Kamitani defending the World of Stardom Championship, while AZM defends the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. It is a battle of former Queen's Quest members, and of course, the remainder of the card to discuss as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining me here for a very special stream once again. 3 days in a row of videos. Like I said, we'd get going with all these. No more having to wait around for the weekly podcast. We keep these rolling. This audio will be available on the podcast stream. Don't you worry. So if you haven't yet, I ask you go subscribe to the Scott E Wrestling podcast feed over on Spotify and Apple Podcast. This is the best place to listen to the reviews. Right now, if you head over there, the Sendai Girls show review from the big show in Sendai from earlier this week is available now. So go check that out, whether it be on the podcast feed or the YouTube channel where you are listening to this. First and foremost, youtube.com/at Scott E Wrestling. You can also check out the breaking news audio that I put up regarding Mayu Iwatani versus Io Sky, announced for Grand Destiny 2025. Was so happy to have my friends Dylan and Xavier join me for that one. It was an absolute blast. But with that being said, let's get to the project at hand here, and that, of course, is reviewing this Korakuen Hall show. Listen, this show was on paper a two-match show, right? Two title matches, of course, sold out to the rafters for the big Saya Kamitani defense. That goes without saying. She is the superstar, right? A massive, massive week for her between the big time television match that she had on Friday that was televised in a historic match at that against Hanan. Go over and check out Pep's YouTube channel for a great video talking about that. Please, please, please. Pep's, of course, a friend of the channel. Just a fantastic video to really let you know how important that match was, how historic that match was. Even though it's, a shorter, simple match, it's still a very big deal. And the big reason for that match happening, of course, is your World of Stardom champion, Saya Kamitani. I'll tell you right now, most of this review is going to be about the news from the show, and then of course reviewing the last couple matches. The undercard's the undercard. There's not too much to take away from it. It was a fine, breezy show, quite frankly. I'm recording this right after because I have decided that sleep is overrated for my life. But I also wanted to get the instant reaction coming out of a very noteworthy Korakuen. So with that, let's get to our review. We are talking the Stardom Korakuen in September 2025, headlined by Saya Kamitani versus Azumi in the double championship match. Let's go to the first match on the main card. That, of course, was none other than Honma coming in and teaming with Natsupoi and Sariano. So some actress girls lore for all of you to see. Tehoma, of course, retiring very, very soon. So very cool to see her get into Stardom and compete with two of her friends. I thought this match was a fun way to open up the show. I think you watch Sayaka Karara, you watch Rihanna, you watch Rani Yagami, and you're seeing the strides be made by all three of them. I think it's undeniable that out of the young crew, both Carrara and Rian took a lot from that tournament. Carrara elevated to, I think, that next level that obviously Stardom was willing to push her to earlier this year as the Cinderella winner. Meanwhile, Rian has just leveled up. You're seeing that development and seeing some added confidence, which is really exciting to see. This match ended when Tehoma made Rana Yagami tap out. which ultimately is leading to a singles match between the two on an upcoming New Blood show. I believe there's 3 New Blood shows in the month of October, so I believe we'll be on the very first one of those. But a fine, fun trios match to open up the show. I don't have the graphic in here because the match changed. Originally, it was supposed to be Saki Kashima versus Momo Kogo versus Waka Tsukiyama in a three-way match. However, Saki Kashima was pulled from the show, so wishing her the absolute best in whatever she's doing, which she's been pulled off a lot of shows as of late. So instead, it was just Momo Kogo and Waka Tsukiyama, with Waka Tsukiyama getting the win over Momo Kogo. A rather nothing match, a fine match. I would love if Momo Kogo got to win ever, but it's just not in the cards for her. She is probably the lowest on the totem pole in Stardom, which is kind of a bummer because I think she is a talented wrestler who has shown in the past when given an opportunity, she can shine. But that is the case. Of course, Waka is also one half of the New Blood champions, so shouldn't be a shock that the champion won. We then had the Stars trio of Hanan Saida and Bea Priestley teaming up. They took on Hate, Konami, Fukigen Death, and Momo Watanabe. So there's a continued story here that I think is one worth paying attention to the World Wonder Ring, and that, of course, is Hate's continued attack on Hanan. They're really talking her down. Konami had said in her backstage comments, like, what is Stars without Hanan? I would argue what is Stars without Mayu Iwatani, but that's neither here nor there. Um, but in all seriousness, I think the story is setting up for Hanan to overcome and climb to the top of Stardom, maybe for a potential Saya Kamitani title match. There's a reason Hanan was selected for that big time television match that was aired on Friday on Japanese television, right? To face Saya Kamitani. They want people to know who she is. They want people to know who she is, even though she lost to Saya Kamitani in this match, as she should. I think that is, again, the case of let's get eyes on someone that we see as the future top babyface of this promotion. So this match ended in a heel DQ as Konami crushed Hanan in the head with the chair and the bell was rung. Um, a fine match. I spent a lot of this match being like, okay, let's see if we get anything from Momo, any teases or anything. No, but however, they answered my question at the end of the show, so I will take it. But a fun, solid, fine trios match, nothing to write home about. But I do think that Hanan story point is one to follow when it comes to the World Wonder Ring, because I do think that is going to be an important talking point now that we know that the Queendom match will not be Momo Watanabe. So something to look out for there. Next match was a fun one. It was a three-way 12-person tag. You had Starlight Kid, Mei Sarah, Miyu Amasaki, and Emma Mishima versus Akira Kurogane, Itsuki Aoki, Rina Yamashita, and Bozilla. And then, of course, Suzuki, Koguma, Aya Sakura, and Yuna Mizumori all teaming up. I thought this match kind of embodied what you want. If you're going to do, these shows where every wrestler is on the show, you want to see them all in a fun match, and that's what this was. Now, I will say I do miss Suzuki, of course. Me Vita Loca just struggling forever, but they're fun, like, I think these 4 are actually fun. I'd like Akira to continue to get some, run here, but overall, let's talk about it. Emma Mishima should absolutely be joining Neo Genesis. Instantly fit in with that trio. I think there is a perfect decision to kind of put her in that group. They kind of need a pin eater per se. That's what Akira has been for me, Vita Loca, for quite some time since the beginning of the group. And I think Emma Mishima, who is very talented and I think has kind of a good wrestling style to fit that group, I think she would fit right in. So that was kind of my main takeaway from this match. But the other takeaway is one that we celebrate, right? We got a Hazuki win. We got a Hazuki win. I had a big smile on my face because, listen, I don't know what the future has for us moving forward when it comes to Hazuki. I just don't. I don't think there is a clear, obvious future of what her FWC as a whole is doing in Stardom. She's been mostly iced since Queendom. She's been going outside to get a lot of her top matches, and she's been thriving in doing so. But I think there's a lot of questions of what's next. So seeing her get a win here, get a win in a sold out Korakuen was really nice. And of course, the big reason for that was we are building to the upcoming championship match, which will happen at Korakuen Hall this upcoming. Oh, not this upcoming October 11th on a Saturday. It will be Hazuki challenging Koguma for the CMLL Japan Women's Championship, which is very cool. I think it's very cool, one, that we get to see FWC face off. I think they're absolutely going to crush it. I think this is going to be the first opportunity in a long time for both of these wrestlers to really thrive in a Stardom ring. I think they're going to shine. I think they're going to crush it. So I'm really excited for that. The other talking point, of course, is that this match will happen 2 weeks before both wrestlers head to CMLL in Mexico. So they're heading to Mexico for the International Women's Grand Prix match, which is really, really cool. They'll be part of Team World. They'll be representing Stardom. And that's exactly what you want to see. Hazuki and Koguma have been talking about we want to travel the world and do all these different things. And they haven't really outside of Spark, right? So to me, it is a celebration to see this happen. It is a celebration to have these two face off and put on a show for this belt and then go to CMLL and do the same thing. I think those two can thrive there, and they'll probably be there for quite, maybe a little tour, maybe get some matches in Arena Coliseo and places like that. I may have butchered that, but seeing them in Arena Mexico will be very cool. So I'm very happy that these two get to shine in Corrigan and then head to Arena Mexico 2 weeks later because they absolutely deserve it. So yeah, this was a fun match and a fun post match, making this match official for a couple weeks from now. So looking forward to that one. We then had Ami Sourei, Lady C, and Kyoko Kotatsu taking on Natsuko Tora, Ruaka, and Rina. If you've been following along with kind of Ami Sourei and Lady C, they've been, positioning themselves for a potential tag title match. Of course, with Tag League right around the corner, BMI 2000 still haven't had their first defense. It only makes sense we get a defense in before the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League fires up for, I believe, all of November after the Crimson, whatever it's called. What is it called? Stardom Crimson Nightmare. So I think the tag league kicks off in full swing after that. So you want to get BMI 2000 a strong defense or a defense before that, right? You want to have them have a defense because, of course, you're then going to set up their challengers for Stardom Dream Queendom through the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League, which I'm fascinated to see who ends up being this year. Maybe it'll be Sayori Poi. I could see that. Anyways, this match was fun as well. I think when watching Ami Sourei and Lady C, I think there is a nice little combination there. I do think there is a continued work towards connecting and clicking, and I think they're gonna have a fun tag title match because spoiler alert, Lady C took advantage of the misstep um of the actually Ami Sourei hit Natsuko with the chair when the ref wasn't looking. Natsuko then got hit with the big boot by Lady C and pinned in the middle of the ring. So Lady C pinning a former World of Stardom champion. So let's celebrate that for a second, right? Let's celebrate that. Um, Pretty crazy to think about. But after the match, they made the challenge official. It will be Ami Sourei and Lady C against BMI 2000. Now, they didn't make the date official. I could see it beyond that Korakuen for sure, maybe even the main event. We'll wait and see, but they could wait all the way to Crimson Nightmare as well. It'll be one of those two if I had to guess. But either way, I do think Ami and Lady C are a fun duo. Kind of a powerhouse overall match, so it should be fun to see them do it. I'd like to see Rena start you know, kicking the tires maybe on getting into that Wonder Stardom title picture very, very soon as well. But a fine, solid, got the job done trios match here to get us that title challenge. Then we had the return of Shuri, which is always a celebratory moment. Shuri has been missed. Shuri is one of the best on the planet when she is going, and she didn't look like she missed a minute. It was a really weird way she went away, right? She said, "Oh, I'm going to AEW and I'll come back and go for the IWGP title." Then she was going in for surgery, and then she came back a few weeks ago at Oz to take part in the Sunoco Kato retirement tour. And now she's finally back. Now she's finally back in Stardom. She's going one on one, or not one on one, but she is face to face with Sari. And it's very clear to me that I think the end game, it was the beginning of this game, and that is Sari versus Shuri one more time, whether that be Crimson Nightmare, whether that be uh Stardom Dream Queendom, I don't know, but it's gonna be one of the two. And I kind of have mixed feelings about it because on one hand, hell yeah, like Sari and Shuri is gonna be awesome. Like this preview tag was a lot of fun, and I like the Tomoka Sari minutes for what it's worth. Kara Ito, the veteran that she is, fills in and does her job alongside Sari. It's always cool to see the um student, especially in someone when it comes to like Sari and her level, still getting to work with, of course, her mentor that she's been very open about. Um, but the Shuri Sari minutes are never bad. There's always a great heat between the two. There's always a great back and forth, and Sari got the win. And I think Sari getting the win is essentially of effect of pushing the match just a little off, right? Pushing the match just a little down the line. And I think that's very important because I think we are either setting up for Crimson Nightmare or Stardom Dream Queendom. And it feels like Sari's just going to drop this belt back to Shuri at the end of the title reign, which is, if we don't get Sari versus Saya Kamitani, it is booking malpractice. Okay, like that is the biggest match Stardom can book. Period. End of story. The, you know the the magic that Hate versus Sari had spoke for itself. It was the story of the 5-star up until it ended, and now we have had a clear path cut away from that. That's no longer the story. It's no longer even in the conversation. And it just doesn't make sense to me. Listen, I love Shuri. I love Shuri. I want to see her be champion again. But she can be champion next year. I like Sari versus Saya for all these belts. It writes itself. That is the Stardom Dream Queendom main event, and maybe that's where we go. Maybe Sari runs through Shuri again, which I just think is not what's going to happen at Crimson Nightmare, and then she steps up to Saya Kamitani after the main event. Who knows? Maybe that is the path, but I don't know. I don't know, and it saddens me because that match felt so locked up. The Tokyo Sports articles and the back and forth between the two, dating back months, and the Sariaza match, and all these different things, and now it feels like maybe we're pushing that to the side, and I don't want that pushed to the side. Love Shuri, love Shuri. I think Shuri should challenge Saya Kamitani. Quite frankly, I said that months ago. Um, but let's book the biggest match because listen, Saya Kamitani should win that one too. Don't get me wrong, but it's the biggest match. There's energy there. There's excitement there. I hope we get it. But right now, it looks like the pathway is Shuri and Sari once again, but not yet. As Sari revealed, she has someone she wants to defend the belt against overseas first, and then maybe we can do the Shuri match, which I think is a good story plot because if you go back, that's what Sari received from Shuri, right? She challenged Shuri after the Queendom match, right, where Shuri won the belt from Mayu Iwatani, and then Alex Windsor popped up on the screen and challenged Saya, or not Saya, Shuri, and that match happened before the eventual title match between Sairi and Shuri. So I like kind of working back to that. I think that's a nice little loop around there. That being said, we have questions and answer. Who's the overseas opponent, Sairi? Where is the overseas? When is the overseas? She said very soon. She said the decision's coming very soon. So, you know, you look at the calendar, you look at what's possible. And I don't really know. Like, I saw people say online, "Oh, AEW Wrestle Dream." That's not possible. That is when Saria is defending the AAAW Tag Team titles against Karo Ito and Tomoko Watanabe at the Ito Dojo show as part of Karo Ito's anniversary. That's the same date, so that's not going to be the date. Could it be sooner though? Could it be AEW? You know, I mean, we are what, a week removed from Sari naming Tony Storm, naming Athena as wrestlers she'd like to defend this belt against. I mean, I'm not saying no to that, especially the Athena match, right? That's a big circle. Whatever it is, I do think it'll be AEW. It just feels like the most obvious choice, right? That's the rivalry. If it's not there, maybe it's Eve, you know. But I do think it'll be AEW. I don't know when. Sari kind of teased at it. Then we moved on. I kind of expected after that maybe she'd say it in the post match press conference or post match interview. She didn't say that either. So we'll have to wait and see. But I do think it's going to be AEW. It feels like it'll be very, very soon based on Sari's schedule. And, you know, and based on the timing, if it is very soon, Crimson Nightmare versus Shuri might be the direction. So I'll hold on. I'll hold on to Sari versus Saya Kamitani just a little bit longer. But that's the direction we go. Obviously, always rooting for the best in the world. That is Sari. But that was that fun tag match, by the way. Tomoka got dropped right on top of her head, by the way. That was nasty. Great Uranagi, as always. We then had your semi main event, Future of Stardom Championship match. Hina defending the title against Hanako. We knew it was over, right? You had to know it was over. You had to know this was it. Hina lost. Hina lost the Future Stardom Championship to Hanako. It was always inevitable to me. You know, this was the match that we were going to work our way to. This was the match that very clearly, I think, was the one to dethrone Hina, even from the very starts. You know, Stardom has gone kind of all in on Hanako, right? Last year, she was in the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League final. Uh, you know, she won the Queendom Battle Royal and challenged Starlight Kid for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. She's been a New Blood Tag Team champion for most of the year. All these things tell me, yeah, we're setting her up because we believe in her. This is someone that Stardom wants to get behind. But my biggest reason that I didn't want Hino to lose is just because she was incredible in this reign. To me, the second best future Stardom title reign ever behind Rena's. And that's only because Rena's went longer. You know, like Hina, each and every match she stepped into, she elevated her opponent to her level and delivered. And I thought that's what she did here with Hanako. This was, you know, I call the Starlight Kid match the best Hanako match, and I stand by that. This was right behind it. This was really good. Again, packed, sold out Korakuen Hall. Everything that works towards this match, everything that works for this match. And it worked for this match once again. I really enjoyed the near falls. I really enjoyed the back and forth. I think when Hina went for the big splash and ended up getting booted by Hanako was absolutely nasty, absolutely tough, and I thought it was going to end there, but we got some great near falls after that. Back and forth we go. Hanako hit a massive, massive power bomb. And I said to myself, that should be your finisher. That was freaking gruesome. That is what I've been asking from Hanako from the very start, right? Be powerful. Be who you are, right? Hanako's entire thing is she is this tall, powerful wrestler. Utilize that. And she did with that power bomb, but she didn't win with that. Hina got the big kick out. Big chance of Hina going through the crowd before it was a JP coaster to Hina for Hanako to win the championship. Like I said, I knew this was coming. I'm not bummed because of who won it. I'm just bummed because Hina was such a great champion. That being said, I hope this now opens up the opportunity for Hina to challenge for the Wonder Stardom Championship sometime in the next 6 months. I think she has shown that she's ready for that step up. You know, if you told me at the beginning of the future of Stardom Championship reign, right, when she just won the belt, oh, you know, Hina by the end of this will be ready to wrestle for one of those top two belts. I would have said, I don't know. She'd have to have a really great reign. She'd have to really show a lot. Well, she did, and then some, and then some, and then some. Hina deserves all the respect, all the praise for what she accomplished. She elevated her stock like you wouldn't believe. You know, for the longest time, it was always, oh, well, Hina's, you know, good, but she's the third of the sisters. No, Hina put respect on her name in this title reign. I want her to get all the respect here now that she has, of course, lost the belt. By the way, I should have said this at the start. This show is available for free on YouTube, so you have no excuse not to watch it. But maybe you were waiting for my review. Maybe you want to hear my review. What is worth watching? Well, I think this match was one of the two matches truly worth going out of your way to see. You get to see the future, a good performance from Hanako, another great performance from Hina as the champion, and now we'll see how Hanako can do as champion because her classmate, these two debuted back in 2023 together. So that's always an important moment. I think that's always something important to remember. They were the same class, and Aya Sakura will be the first challenger. Yes, thank you for asking. I am devastated. Aya Sakura will also be the first loss. But that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But I'm looking forward to that match. I don't think that was made official for a date. I'd expect it for one of the new blood dates, though, with three of them coming up. You know, Hanako's kind of being centered now as the face of that show, right? She's double champion. We got two double champions on the show. She's one half of the new blood tag team champions, and now the future of Stardom champion, much like Rena was once upon a time. So that's very interesting. But Aya Sakura will step up. We will be rooting for Aya Sakura always. Aya Sakura has, you know, gold to her name, right? Former Sendai Girls Junior champion, so you never know. But let's move on here now to the main event. This is why you're here. This is why you came to the review in the first place. You know, it's about this match. Saya Kamitani defending the World of Stardom Championship. Azumi defending the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Double title match. The reason everyone was at this venue was for this match. I think this was the only match officially announced for like a month, and then they added the future, and then they just added everything else this week. So this is the match, right? This match single handedly sold out Korakuen Hall, and again, it is to it would be wrong to not applaud the year that has been Saya Kamitani's year, right? She has become the biggest, most undeniable star in Joshi. We've talked about this many, many times. And she is someone who has seriously put her name into the consideration, I think, as the favorite to win the Tokyo Sports MVP. You look at what she did on Friday with the big TV thing on, I believe it was the show, or it was the show of the channel called TBS, you know, with the match against Hana and all the importance that comes from that and her continued appearances on that show and all these different things, right? It's just been a sensational year, and I do think Azumi's had an underrated year. I wouldn't say she's a wrestler of the year conversation type like a Saya Kamitani or a Starlight Kid, you know, for when it comes from the Stardom ring. But she, you know, she's just a step below. And I think her 5-star really helped elevate that star, right? She had a fantastic 5-star, obviously a finalist against Mama Watanabe. So now she steps into her first ever World of Stardom Championship match, much like earlier this year when she stepped into her first Wonder of Stardom Championship match, but she's also defending her own title. When I have a match like this in front of me, you have Saya Kamitani, who is this giant, right? This Goliath that overcoming feels truly impossible. And listen, it should be impossible because as I will continue to say on this show, there is not a single person right now that should be beating Saya Kamitani in the year 2025. It just doesn't make sense. If you are Stardom, if you are continuing to be hot, it's because of Saya Kamitani. You keep running it until the wheels fall off, and I don't think they're falling off anytime soon. So you get the big Queen's Quest battle, you get these two face to face, double championship match, everything you're looking for, everything you're asking for, right? Working here to make this as big as humanly possible. And I think this match is a tale of two. I think it's a tale of two parts. I love their GP match. I thought that was fantastic. And frankly, I ended up loving this match. Don't get me wrong. But the start was weird. It was very un Saya Kamitani. I think that's kind of my main takeaway. She went very heel. When I say very heel, I mean like cheap shots. Hate helping her is a normal thing, but limb work, these little, I think she did a headlock at one point. I was like, this is weird. And the signals go up, right? The thought process goes, okay, is this going to a draw? Double title match. Is this going to a draw? Because they kind of wasted the first couple minutes, 5, 6, 7 minutes, right? They wrestled through the Korakuen crowd, just kind of do that. Then Saya Mosley's on back, and Azumi gets in there like the 13 count or something, and then more heel work. And I'm just sitting there. You have Azumi here, right? Her whole entire thing is speed and you know, she can do the bomb fest too. And I also thought to myself, watching the match, like, well, perhaps it's part of why the early going is slow, right? It's Saya trying to make sure she doesn't have it out of hand, right? Doesn't let the high speed specialist once upon a time bring up that momentum. It's Saya Kamitani. Like, don't get me wrong, Saya Kamitani is someone who has held the high speed championship. Saya Kamitani is someone who can bring speed and athleticism and explosiveness to a match. But that's Azmi's thing. So maybe that's why it was slowed down. Maybe that's the mindset here. Let's slow it down early. Let's get Azmi on her back leg, right? And I think that's an important part of the story, and the match develops from there. And like I said, the second half, once we got into the bomb throwing, the bomb fest, something that is a Saya Kamitani staple and something she does so well, match elevated massively. Match elevated massively. Star Crusher near fall. Speaking of near falls, there was a Azumi Sushi after a Canadian destroyer done by Azumi in this match. The Azumi Sushi, there was a 2.9999999. You get the picture. Kick out like that. It felt as close as humanly possible to the fact that Saya Kamitani had lost his belt. And I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, they did it. They did what I look for in a match like this. When there is a world title match or any title match, and I have no hope in the challenger going into it, all I ask for you to do is make me believe. Make me believe that you can pull this one out at one point or another in this match. Make me jump out of my chair, leap out of my chair in excitement. That's what Azumi did not once but twice with two great Azumi sushis. Great kickouts by Saya Kamitani. And I think that's something that Saya Kamitani's always been kind of masterful at the big, scary, close near fall. It's crazy to think that Saya Kamitani's the same wrestler she was during that white belt reign, just a different person. Loved the white belt reign. I've talked about that many times, but it's just a different person now. Anyways, that's off the point. Azumi gets so many great near falls. She is hitting the Canadian destroyers like crazy. She hits the arm hook Canadian destroyer. That is her finish, you know. And she didn't go for the Azumi Sushi though. She went for a normal pin. Saya Kamitani kicked out once again to a big time pop. The crowd was in a frenzy. Listen, I think the crowd was strong for most of the night, but my God, it was a different world when it came to this world title match. It's like this is why we're here, folks. Now, shout out to the Hina chance in the match before, but this is why we're here. So when she hit that Canadian Destroyer with the arm hooks, I was like, what is her finisher? I crazy? Is that not her finisher? Well, she didn't do the Zumi Sushi show. I guess that's why it didn't work. Big kick out by Saya. Big moment by Saya. She had worked the arm for a lot of the match too for Saya Kamitani. But that was all for naught because the biggest spot of the match was a goddamn Canadian Destroyer off the top rope on Saya Kamitani, head drilled into the floor. Oh my God. That's when I truly was like, oh, it's over. It's gotta be over. She hit the double arm hook. That didn't work. She hit the super version. And now Saya Kamitani kicks out. And I'm just like, kind of start the pace, and you're like, oh boy, here we go. They get into that closing stretch, and Saya Kamitani says enough is enough, as she often does, and ultimately gets the job done, as you'd expect, to become the double champion, which was uh, not shocking to me that she won. I always expected Saya Kamitani to win this belt. The only shock to me was it felt like especially in the early going, we were going to a draw. It was very draw based timing. And then when Saya hits the spinning star crusher to get the win, I'm like, oh, that's just the match we went with. I have no problems with that. I am all for a winner. And ultimately, I thought the match was excellent. I think it's just another feather in the cap of Saya Kamitani this year. It's another feather in the cap of Azumi as well, who has had her best showings this year in Korakuen Hall. You know, it's consistently been that, whether it be the trios match at the beginning of the year against Cosmic Angels, whether it be the Bozilla match, whether it be the Korakuen Hall semifinals, you know, against Saya and who else? Oh, Hanan. Those two matches were fantastic, right? Now, one more feather in the cap for Azumi inside Korakuen Hall. She comes up short. Her title reign was not much of anything, but it was a fun match, a really great match. And listen, at the end of the day, your Tokyo Sports MVP, not just women's grand prize, but your MVP. There's truly no one in Japan that takes this from her. Listen, the scariest aspect all the time is taking a award away from the Puro scene, let alone Puro scene, just say New Japan, right? That Tokyo Sports MVP award always goes to the top New Japan star. There's not a clear one this year. You're not going to give it to Zack Sabre Jr. You're not going to give it to Hiroki Goto, despite him probably having been the favorite. And you should not give it to Konosuke Takeshita. No. It's got to be Saya Kamitani. It should be Saya Kamitani. And boy, oh boy, is she making sure you know it should be Saya Kamitani. But as she stood tall here, packed Korakuen, loving her, loving the match performance, and a fantastic match at that, you just you're just left amazed. This promotion is Saya Kamitani. Everyone else is second, third, fourth fiddle. And that matters. You know why? Because she's all that matters right now. And we've talked about this many times on the podcast past, in the past couple months. It's about making someone alongside Saya Kamitani. Who is that person they're going to pick? Like I said earlier, they put Hana on that show with her on Friday. That's a big deal. They put Azumi and her with her in this big match. Obviously, the Queen's Quest connection, all the things like that. I think this is a very unique match for Azumi in the fact that I don't know how much it's weird because she gains a lot from losing, right? She gains a great performance and things like that. But how much does she truly gain? She loses the belt, she loses the match, she hit all her big moves, numero uno locked in, double arm, Canadian destroyer from the top rope, all these different things. And Saya kicked out each and every time. So it's a matter of what's next for Osmi. Where does she go next? What makes the most sense for someone as she lost her title? She watches that move on. She is now title less. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know what the answer is for Osmi, but I do know the answer for Saya Kamitani is that she is fantastic. She is a deserving double champion. Shocking it took this long at this point. Let's just add the wonder in the WGP while we're at it. Though I do think those matches should probably happen. Well, I've said the Surrey match should happen, but Starlight Kid versus Saya Kamitani obviously writes itself if we ever want to run it. But that's neither here nor there. What did matter was the post match. Momo Watanabe has officially challenged Saya Kamitani for both the World of Stardom and New Japan Strong Women's Championships. And it will happen at Crimson Nightmare on November. Oh, is it November? It's November 3rd. On November 3rd, they will face off. On November 3rd, for the double titles, Momo cashes in, whatever, the 5-star Grand Prix win that she had, and she will face her hate stablemate, Saya Kamitani. The crowd popped big for this. And now the question goes, how will this all go? Hate versus hate, Crimson Nightmare, not Stardom Dream Queendom. How will this go? What makes sense? That's something I don't have an answer to. What I do have an answer to is I'm excited to see how this story goes. I'm excited to see how we get there. Does Momo turn? Does Momo become a babyface? Get kicked out of hate? Something along the way? Does it happen during the match? After the match? Right? You remember in the 5-star Grand Prix, she told Hate, get out of my face. I am going to win this match on my own. I don't need your help. And that's what she did. Seeds have been planted for over a year. She smashed Tekla in the face on accident so many different times, right? When they were teaming. She has miscommunicated so many times, hit people with the bat so many times. It's got to lead to the split here. If this match ends, right, at Crimson Nightmare, and these two are in hate, and the show goes off, and they're still in hate together, I will be annoyed. We need story progression. We need this to make sense. Yes, Momo versus Saya Kamitani is going to be freaking awesome. That is not my question. I know what that's going to be, but it can be extra awesome. Extra awesome? Nah, I don't like that one. It can be sensational if Momo Watanabe returns to the good side. You know, there's something there that excites me, and it's a story that I've talked about many, 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 many times throughout this year. Others have as well. I hope they embrace it. I hope they go all in on it. And I hope Momo Watanabe, when she enters that match, is the number one baby face in the world for that match. I don't think she's going to win, but I hope she is. I'm excited. And I'm excited that they use this opportunity, shows free, live on air, to tell everyone what we're going to do next. That's very smart. That's what you want to do. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll take place on Monday, November 3rd. Crimson Nightmare, Oda Ward, Momo Watanabe, 5-star Grand Prix winner, faces Saya Kamitani for both the World of Stardom Championship and New Japan Strong Women's Championships. But that's it here from this review. A fantastic main event, a very good future Stardom title match, and just kind of news throughout the show. Ultimately ends us right here, right now. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, everyone, for your support, the continued support on the channel. please go check out those other videos, whether it be the Sendai Girls one or the Marigold reveal of Mayu versus Io. That will mean a lot to me. Like I said earlier, go and check out the podcast feed. If you like listening to the audio version only, this is where reviews and previews will go from the channel. Everything else, you got to come to the channel, listen. But previews and reviews will go here for those who want to listen. The Sendai Girls one is up there now. This one will be up most likely on Sunday. I like to do a little bit delay, but make sure you check it out. Make sure you subscribe, leave a 5-star review. That'd do a lot of good for me. I appreciate that. But also, as we sit here now with this show review completed, please let me know below. Leave a like. Helps us a lot. Helps me a lot. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're coming across this video, press that subscribe button. We're covering Joshi here. And leave a comment. What did you think of the show? What do you think of Saya versus Azumi? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you enjoy it? And perhaps most importantly, tell me what you think about Saya Kamitani versus Momo Watanabe. What should happen? Leave the comment below. I'll check it out. I'll read it. I appreciate you all. Thank you, everyone, for the support. Thank you, everyone, for the continued eyeballs on the channel. We are working our way to 1,000 subscribers. That's the goal. If I get there, I am pretty set in happiness because I never could have dreamt of it. But now we're close. We're there. We'll continue to pump out videos each and every week. I don't know what's next, but I got some ideas cooking up. No big reviews anytime soon. So we'll see what comes about. But thank you all for listening. Thank you all for the support. It means the absolute world to me. Hopefully, I can keep bringing some good content to you that you all enjoy. So I appreciate all of you that are listening. I appreciate all of you that have shown me support over the past couple of days. And I hope you enjoyed this show. If you didn't get to watch the show, like I said, it was available for free on YouTube. Of course, you can go on Stardom World as well. I think it was actually available for free on Stardom World too. Well, when it was live, I didn't have to log in like I usually do. So you can check out there too. But make sure you go out and watch at least the main event, at least the final 2 matches. We're building towards Crimson Nightmare. We'll see how it all goes. I'm excited for Momo and Saya. It's going to be a fascinating match. But that's all, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Go check out everything else on the channel. And until next time, so long. See you later.